Already, so it is week 11 of the NFL season already. It is flying by. It is the day before Thursday Night Football, so I wanted to get these out here as soon as possible for you. It is matchups to avoid, matchups to exploit for most of the running backs, but also a little bit of wide receiver sprinkled in this week, sprinkled in there for you guys. Starting right off with the matchups to avoid. These are the running back matchups that we are looking to hopefully not start these players in fantasy. The first matchup we are looking to avoid is the Houston Texans playing the Tennessee Titans. The Houston Texans for the past 3 weeks are number one in rush yards allowed, meaning they are not letting you run the football at all. Tony Pollard is in trouble. Tajay Spears is in trouble. This is not a week to try and play any of the Tennessee Titans players on either side of the ball, but especially running the football. They are holding running backs to under 48 yards a game for the past 3 weeks. Their offense hasn't been anything too crazy on the season. It's not even been good, if I'm being honest. So realistically, their defense is going to have to keep on dominating these football games to win them. It is not a week to start either one of these running backs, and they haven't been that great on the season anyways. You should have better options. You drafted people way before them in our fantasy football drafts. The next matchup I am looking to avoid, and it's kind of a weird one because I really haven't talked about them on the season, but it is the LA Rams playing against the Seattle Seahawks. This game goes both ways. The Rams for the past 3 weeks are not letting you run the football, and the Seahawks on the season are not letting you run the football. That does mean, unfortunately, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, you are not able to confidently start any of these guys. When it comes to Kyron Williams and Kenneth Walker, you obviously drafted both of them to start them, but unfortunately, Kenneth Walker hasn't done anything pretty much the entire season, aside from like week 2 and week 3, maybe it was week 3 and week 4, when Zach Charbonnet was out. Kyron Williams looked pretty good on the year, especially for fantasy football. But either way you split hairs, I really don't trust the running backs, obviously, for Seattle, and even for Kyron this week. The Seahawks are not letting him run on the season, so I'm just not like looking forward to starting either one of these guys in this matchup. Fortunately for us, there's a lot of juicy matchups to both not start and want to start players for fantasy football. The next one, Chargers going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Chargers in the first handful of weeks of the season, we're not letting run the football. We are now back to that. They are number 3 in the past 3 weeks as far as rushing yards allowed to the running back position go. Unfortunately, Travis Etienne hasn't looked too explosive since the first few weeks. He's had little bursts here and there. I do not think this is a week he's going to be able to get going. I think that the Chargers are going to be able to score way too many points in this football game, and that is going to set it up where Etienne is going to be kind of eliminated from the game plan. Maybe he's involved more in the passing game, but that's the only way he's going to be able to get there is through the passing game, through touchdowns. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence. The defense of the Chargers has been on fire for 3 weeks, so it is not my favorite matchup for Etienne this coming week in week 11. From there, it's Kansas City going up against the Denver Broncos. Unfortunately, J.K. Dobbins has been really good in positive game scripts where the teams are allowing a lot of rushing yards, and he's not done very well in the exact opposite. Him and R.J. Harvey are going to be in store for a pretty hard week. Kansas City through the past 3 weeks is number 4 in rushing yards allowed to the running back position. They are allowing 63 yards a game. It's not going to set up as a good game for J.K. Dobbins or R.J. Harvey. We know Kansas City can score. I know Denver's defense has been pretty good, but unfortunately, like, Kansas City's offense is probably a little bit better than their defense. They have too many guys to cover. They're going to be able to score a lot of points. They're going to be able to get after. They need to and have to win this football game to continue to be in like the divisional race to win it against them, the Chargers and the Broncos. It's going to set up where the Broncos are probably going to be behind. You're going to see a lot of passing from Bo Nix in the second half. I think that is going to take both of these running backs for the Denver Broncos out of the game in the second half. The next matchup, and obviously you really can't not start him because you drafted him to start him and you're hoping there's going to be like a breakout week, and it's not really like a breakout week, but like a shining week. It is the Detroit Lions going up against the Eagles. Unfortunately for Saquon, he's not been very good on the season, especially for fantasy football. The offensive line doesn't look as dominant, and the play calling for this team is absolutely abysmal. Unfortunately for the Eagles, this is not going to be a fun matchup. Detroit's offense is fantastic. They're going to be able to score points. That is going to set it up where they're going to have to pass the football a lot more in the second half. Kind of like what we saw when they played against the Rams. They're going to have to pass a lot more, and Saquon's going to have to get there through the air and through touchdowns. They're not letting run the football very effectively on the season. I want to say on the season, they're top 10 in rush yards allowed, and through the past 3 weeks, they're number 8, allowing only 70 yards per game. Saquon's averaging, I believe, about 65 to 70 yards on the season anyway, so not a great game for him. It's not going to be explosive. You're still going to have to start him because he has so much touchdown equity, but as far as like his rushing yards, he should not be able to get there or be too elite on the ground this week. The next matchup I am looking to avoid, and the last one, is the Patriots going up against the New York Jets. The Patriots are top 5, I believe, on the season as far as rushing yards allowed to the running back position go. They are number 11 in the past 3 weeks. They are only allowing 76 yards per game in the last 3 contests. Unfortunately for the Jets, this is an interdivisional rivalry game. The Patriots know how to play them. Their defense has been fantastic. Justin Fields hasn't looked that great. The offensive play calling hasn't been that great. The Jets team is just not that good this year. Brees Hall is going to be in a blender. I feel like the Patriots are going to get out to a sizable lead in this football game. It's going to mean Justin Fields is going to have to pass a lot. The Jets offense is pretty bad, and the Patriots are not letting you score. They're not letting you pass. They're not letting you run. Like, their defense is pretty dang elite this year. So not my favorite matchup for Brees Hall and the New York Jets team in general. Already on the flip side, the positive matchup, the matchup where we're looking to exploit, the matchups where we are looking to smash the button and make sure we are starting these guys against these subpar run defenses. The first matchup is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills right now are bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed for the past 3 weeks, and I want to say that they're bottom 10 on the season as well. This should set up as Rachaad White being able to get there early and often on the ground. Trey Tucker may be even semi-viable for like really deep leagues out there, or like really large leagues. I do think Rachaad White is going to be able to dominate this matchup. It should be a higher scoring game, so he should be involved in the passing game, on the ground, and get some touchdown equity in this football game. The next matchup I'm looking to exploit, and this is a fun one because you did not draft him to start him. You probably picked him up off the waiver wire, which is fantastic. It is the Houston Texans going up against the Tennessee Titans. Flip side of the matchups. This should be a lower scoring game. The defense of the Houston Texans is pretty good. The good news for the Texans, the defense for the Tennessee Titans is god awful. They cannot stop the pass. They cannot stop the run. Their offense can't score points, which means the Texans should be able to run the football handily throughout the entire game. It should be a lower scoring game, like I said. So in the second half, they shouldn't have to pass a bunch. Davis Mills should be able to kind of like chill. If it is CJ Stroud in his first game back, he should be able to chill. This should be a pretty run heavy script for the Texans. That's what I would do if I was the head coach or the offensive play caller. I'd be trying to run the living crap out of the football. It should be a pretty good game for Woody Marks on the season. Maybe one of his better scoring games for the entire year. And Nick Chubb may be able to do okay as well, but I do think Woody Marks is the guy you're going to want to have and absolutely want to smash the button on in week 11. The next matchup that I'm looking to exploit is the Jets going up against the Patriots. Again, flip side of the matchup. Jets run defense is bottom 10 throughout the entire season. They are bottom 10 through the past 3 weeks. It is setting up where Travion Henderson is set to have another week 10 performance potentially in week 11. I would like to note that obviously I'm not overreacting to week 10. Throughout the entire season, I've been calling games where you shouldn't start Travion Henderson. There's been a couple of games where there was a positive like run game script as far as like the run defense being horrible, but obviously unfortunately like Ramondre Stevenson was like killing this backfield and Gibson, and it was just too many people. At this point in time, if it is just Travion playing, he should be set up to smash. The Jets are absolutely horrible at stopping the run. The Patriots can score points. He has touchdown equity. He's involved in the passing game. He should be set up to smash this coming week. The next 2 matchups I am looking at, and like realistically I'm gonna touch on them real fast because like you drafted these 2 guys to start them. Packers going up against the Giants. Giants are bottom 10 on the season. They're actually bottom 5 on the season and bottom 5 through the past 3 weeks as far as rushing yards allowed at the running back spot. Josh Jacobs, smash spot. You drafted him to start him. This should be a great week for you in fantasy football for Josh Jacobs. Carolina Panthers going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson, you drafted him, start him. Should be a smash bounce back week for Bijan. He really hasn't like popped off the page in a few weeks. I do think this is a get right game for him. Carolina is bottom 5 in the past 3 weeks as far as rushing yards allowed to the running back position. He should be a setup to like absolutely smash and dominate. The next matchup I am looking at to exploit, it's a fun one because you didn't really necessarily draft him to start him more than likely, but you are going to be excited about starting him this week. It is the Bengals going up against the Steelers. The Bengals are what? Bottom 2 in the past 3 weeks and like bottom 5 at a bare minimum throughout the entire season as far as rushing yards to the running back position goes. This game should be higher scoring. It should set up where you're going to see Jaylen Warren being involved in the passing game, getting there on the ground. It should, like I said, already be a higher scoring game, so a lot of touchdown equity for him, like both through the ground, through the air. He should be set up to absolutely smash and dominate against the Bengals team, who the past 3 weeks, obviously not including their bye because we're looking at 3 weeks before that, they are allowing 145 rushing yards to the running back position. They are literally second to last the past 3 weeks. Jaylen Warren should be a dominant fantasy football smash the button start this coming week. The next matchup I'm looking at is the Falcons and the Panthers playing against each other. The flip side of the earlier matchup with Bijan, it is Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle should have a bounce back game after a pretty subpar performance, in my opinion, in week 10. I think the subpar performance comes from the fact that Bryce Young looked like poop and the fact that Dave Canales thought we can just run the ball 35 times. No, eventually teams like, even like the Saints, who aren't that great, you know, they have a DC who's not like dumb. They have a head coach who's not dumb. They're going to be like, you know what? We're going to stop the run and make Bryce Young beat us. The issue was that the Panthers were not ready for that in week 10, clearly, with Dave Canales' game plan being absolutely abysmal. I am hoping this week that Bryce Young is ready to go, that they're not just relying on Rico Dowdle. They can mix up the play calling, mix up like the pass run schemes, and it should set up because of how bad Atlanta has been on the season, especially in the past 3 weeks. They are the literally 32nd team, allowing over 145 yards per game. So even more than Cincinnati, which is crazy to think about. Smash the button on Rico Dowdle with confidence in week 11. Now, transitioning from running back matchups to avoid and exploit over to the wide receiver matchups to exploit. I don't talk about matchups to avoid because it changes week to week. The defensive schemes changes. How they're going to play different like wide receivers is going to change. Like it is going to change from week to week. There's not much fluidity. But when it comes to bad pass defenses and matchups to exploit, those are semi-consistent, and we're looking for like higher scoring games that also have bad secondaries, because if teams are having to score a lot of points, they're going to have to pass. Bad pass defense, they're going to keep on being bad, usually as long as the game's higher scoring. The first matchup I'm looking at is the Bills going up against Tampa Bay. Should be a higher scoring game. Tampa Bay secondary is bottom 10th of the past 3 weeks as far as like passing yards allowed go. This should set it up where all the Bills wide receivers should eat pretty heavily and thoroughly. Should be a higher scoring game. I'm looking for all the Bills wide receivers, whether it's Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, to have pretty dang good weeks. Unfortunately, I don't think Dalton Kincaid's going to play. If he was, he'd be in a smash spot as well. The next matchup I'm looking to exploit is the 49ers going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Should be a middling to maybe like a higher scoring game. Mac Jones has been decent enough, but the secondary for San Francisco has been horrible. I heard people earlier in the season, I heard like ESPN and Fox broadcasters say, secondary for the 49ers is good. No, it's not. I've been saying it. Again, I'm not an analyst, so I just make YouTube videos. I was saying it earlier in the season. They do not have anybody in the secondary. It's not a great unit. It's a bunch of young players out there. We are now seeing that in the statistics, not only because teams are having to score more points, but also because the secondary is not that good. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride should both be able to eat. Score very, very well for fantasy football this coming week. They should be set up to absolutely smash and dominate. Obviously, for these two guys, you drafted them to start them, so it's not anything too crazy, but start them both with confidence this coming week. The next matchup I'm looking at is these two teams who are playing against each other because both their secondaries are god-awful. It is the Bengals playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So weirdly enough, when it comes to like these two teams, they both have the potential to score a lot of points, especially the Bengals. Like obviously with Pittsburgh, if Aaron Rodgers wants to have a good week, he's going to have a good week. He doesn't really have like a good defense he's playing against though, and it should be a higher scoring game. Both of these teams have to win this football game to continue to stay relevant in their division. I do think for the Bengals, you're going to see all their wide receivers get home. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, probably not Yoshi Voss, but like those two guys, probably even Chase Brown be involved in the passing game decently well as well. And when it comes to Pittsburgh, DK Metcalf, maybe the tight ends, maybe Roman Wilson, I don't know. The last matchup that I am looking at to exploit, this one's kind of like a little bit of a stretch, may not be that high scoring of a game only because Marcus Mariota is going to be starting at quarterback. But what I do know is their secondary for the past 3 weeks, allowing the most pass yards in the NFL, over 300 yards per game. Tua should be just fine. You should be able to see Jalen Waddle get there pretty dang well, so start her with confidence. Obviously, Devon A. Chain's going to be involved in the passing game. You drafted him to start him every single week. Even when he's on bye, you're like, you know what? Maybe, just maybe he'll score some points this week. I don't know, but it should set up as like a week where all these pass catchers for Miami should be able to get there in week 11. Maybe even like if you're in like super large leagues, Malik Washington maybe is kind of viable as a pass catcher for this football team, but it should be a pretty dominant performance against the Washington Commanders defense, who's really, really bad at stopping the pass for the Miami Dolphins and the pass catchers in week 11. Alrighty, so there's my week 11 matchups to avoid and matchups to exploit at the running back and wide receiver positions. Well, more so like exploit for wide receivers, but still, you catch my drift. These are the matchups where you're going to be able to think about who maybe you don't want to start and who you absolutely have to start this coming week, especially at the running back spot. Hopefully this video helps get you a little bit closer to winning your fantasy football championship in 2025. I know the waiver wire is passed. I know. If you're in larger leagues, I will have that video around here somewhere for people out there who are like, you know what? I really, really need to pick somebody up and maybe stash them on my bench, and maybe they can be viable later on in the season, or maybe they're kind of a plug and play guy for your football team. Or maybe you're like, you know what, Ethan, I don't need anybody. I'm good. I'm set. My roster's fine. But I do stream DST, or I use DST, and I want to look and kind of see who are the best options this week. It'll be here on the screen somewhere too, my DST video. I think I have some top 5 options this week who literally have the potential to be a top 5 like scoring option for DST, and some of them are actually streamable in week 11. They're not like overly rostered. So hopefully I'll see you guys again. No, hopefully you guys will see me again real soon. And until then, y'all have a blessed day. Bye.